One of the big features of JobPack is the fact that we can integrate an interface to existing ERP systems, and approximately 95% of our business is providing finite scheduling and graphical scheduling capabilities to existing systems that are in manufacturing plants. And I would say that about 99.9% of all our customers are in the metal cutting manufacturing business. My objective this morning is to try and give you a complete overview of the JobPack product so that you can see how it operates from a departmental level, what it provides as an overview for manufacturing across the plant, and also the data collection side of things where we update everything in real time. So to start with, I'm going to switch on system, and there are two modules I'm going to be going over this morning. First of all, there's the scheduling side, and then there's the work order side. So I'm going to start here on the scheduling side of things, and the place that I'm going to start is on the planning board, which is what most people tend to remember us for. They see this, it's a particularly good visual, gives everyone a clear understanding of what's on the shop floor, how long it's going to take, and when it's going to be available. And without trying to give you a training class over this webinar, I'd like to spend just 3 or 4 minutes highlighting the basic layout of this so you can see what you're looking at. Down here on the left-hand side are all of the machines or the resources that we're going to schedule. And these resources can be individual machines, they can be external work, they can be people, they can be groups and assembly operations, pretty much anything that's on the shop floor that uses capacity and takes time and we can schedule. The way that I've got this set up at the minute is I'm looking at 5 workstations at any one time, but I can change that and I can look at more workstations, or I can zoom in and look at individual resources and machines that are on the shop floor, and of course I can scroll down through every piece of equipment that I've got in the manufacturing environment and see what it's doing. In terms of time, we're moving from left to right. So I'm here, which is on April the 24th, and I'm looking out until June the 7th. And that's a 45-day window. And again, this is just convenient for me to look at 45 days, but I can look 365 days out into the future, or I can look at any period of time in between. For this demonstration, the way that I've set things up is that we're working a simple single shift of 8 hours a day, and we're working 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There's no weekend working, so you can see there's no capacity available Saturdays and Sundays on any of the equipment, and subsequently JobPack isn't trying to schedule any work on Saturdays and Sundays. If I move my mouse over the top of any one of these days, you can see there's an 8, and that tells me that we're working 8 hours a day, and that 8 hours a day starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. Each particular resource is just one item, so there's not 2 people operating it, and for simplicity's sake there is no transport time, and everything runs at 100% efficiency. These colored blocks that you see my mouse moving across at the moment are all the work orders and operations that are scheduled for each of these machines. There isn't anything significant in the color at the moment. The color's there purely to differentiate between the different jobs. But what is important is the size of the colored block, because it's directly proportional to the estimated time a job is going to spend on a particular machine. So here, for example, you can see I've got a job which is probably going to take about 5 hours, as opposed to here I've got a job which is going to take 3 days. If you look where my mouse is now in this rectangle, which is blank, as I move my mouse across these jobs, you can see a rough summary of the work order number, the description, and the part number, which is generally what manufacturing companies go off of. If you need more information about any particular job, this panel that I'm moving around at the moment is generally situated on another monitor at the side of the screen, and as I move over these jobs, you can see all of the detail in terms of work order numbers, description, the customer's purchase order number, who the customer is. And also, if you look down where my mouse is right now, as I move my mouse over any particular job, you can see how much time is actually being consumed against a particular job. And of course, because we have a graphical scheduler, I'm able to pick any job up that I want and move it up in the schedule, move it back in the schedule, put it to a different machine, send it out to subcontract, and do pretty much whatever I want to do with those particular operations graphically. So that's the planning board. Gives you a good indication of where all the jobs are laid out. We can obviously see how much capacity we've got used, when we've got free capacity, if we've got any gaps or holes in our capacity that we could fill. So that's a general overview of that. What I'm going to do now is to actually schedule the work. When JobPack schedules work, we generally operate by delivery date. Delivery dates is something that most of our ERP systems give us, and we can use as the mechanism for scheduling. And also it's unambiguous. If a job is due on the 1st of June, there is only one 1st of June, and no one can get confused about when it should be delivered. But we can also schedule via priorities or just in time. We've also got the ability to lock down the schedule. So if I want to lock everything down for a certain period of time, for 10 days, for the next 10 days everything will be fixed, nothing will move, and any scheduling that takes place will be after 10 days. Or I can just go ahead and schedule all of the work. So if I hit the scheduling icon and we schedule work, what happens is the system will read in all of the work orders that we need to put into the scheduler. It'll also read in all of the times consumed against existing work orders that are out on the shop floor. So you can see in the top left here we're reading in the workplaces with the times for each particular workplace and the shift patterns. We read in the routings, and the system takes me over to a page which is listed out all of the work orders that are on the shop floor, and we've listed them by the work order number. So from a planning standpoint, if I was a scheduler or the planning engineer, I can see all of the work orders, I can see the descriptions, the part numbers, and the quantities. And of course the important thing for us being a scheduling system is the delivery date that we've got from our ERP system, JobPack's calculated end date based on the capacity that's available and the time that's been used on each particular job, and then we've got a column that shows deviation. So if everything is right with the world and everyone's estimated times are reasonable, then basically the deviation column is in blue and there's a 0 on it, which shows there's no deviation. So if our customer wants a job on May the 9th, he's going to get it on May the 9th. However, if a job goes late, then we change the color of the deviation column to yellow, and we put the number of days late in the top right hand corner. So as I scroll down against all the work that's on the shop floor, as a planning engineer or the scheduler, I'm immediately drawn to any job that's late because I can see the change in color. And as soon as the job goes more than 5 days late, it now turns red. The interesting thing for me to point out right now with what you're looking at is that this particular job for Caterpillar is due or requested to be finished on June the 13th. The system says, well, it won't be finished until June the 19th, so it's 6 days late. But the nice thing to bear in mind is we're sitting here today and it's April the 24th. So we've got nearly 2 months to do something about this. So this kind of look out into the future or look ahead capability is a pretty important and a pretty powerful tool for manufacturers to see when things are going to be late before they are late. And now I've got a couple of weeks to do something about it, which is work extra time, send it out to a subcontract company, or put it on a different piece of equipment. One of the things that JobPack is particularly good at is expediting jobs and showing you the effects of expediting a job. So before we jumped online this morning, I set a job up and I called it the webinar test job. I gave it a part number of webinar 999. We're making 25. The ERP system says we need it by May the 29th, and the system scheduled it and it's going to be available on May the 29th. So it's blue and there's a 0 in the deviation column. But if our customer, Boeing, calls up and says they need this earlier and we need to expedite it, if I double click on this, the system takes me back over to the planning board and it highlights this specific job in white. So you can see it here highlighted, and to make it clearer, if I blind out all the other work, you can see exactly where this job is. It's going to be on this machine, the Mazak machine, on the 29th. It's going to sit around on a shop floor for 4 or 5 days until it goes onto this machine, goes out for some external work, goes to the Morosiki, and then finally it gets inspected on the 29th. And if I put all the other work back in, you can see where it is and how everything is scheduled around it. So if I want to expedite this job, I can simply move one operation at a time. So I'm able to just pick up an operation and move it to the next job on this machine, and I can do that with each operation. Alternatively, I can pick a hold of the last operation, just drag and drop that, and that'll move everything else in front of it. So now I've got an improved delivery. It's going to be available now on the 8th. And because JobPack is a finite scheduler and it understands we're working 5 days a week and 8 hours a day, if I've moved this job up in the schedule, I must have moved other jobs out. So if I go back here to our work order tab, you can see that I've moved this job in 21 days. It's now green. So Boeing's going to be really happy about that. But now as I move down all the other jobs on the shop floor, JobPack is able to show me with these red arrows which jobs it's had to move out because we've moved that one in. So I've added a day to this job for Mercedes, a day to this job for ABB, 3 days to this job which was for our inventory, and as I scroll down I can see all the jobs that have been affected, and there's quite a few that have been moved out to move that particular job in. I'm also able on the planning board to add in additional hours. So if I look at a particular machine, we'll use this one, this Mori Vertical, I can see that we're booked out until the 19th of June, so it's got a lot of work booked on it and we're only working 8 hours a day. So just on the fly I can say, well, we'll start from the 5th of May and we'll go out until the Friday the 6th of June, and we'll work for 12 hours a day. So we'll work an additional shift or we'll work overtime. So now we're working 12 hours on this particular machine, or the other equipment is still working its 8 hours, and until the 5th of May we're still working 8 hours. And if I go back to the work order side, if I scroll down, you can see there's a whole lot of green arrows coming in now because we're working extra hours on that one particular machine. The knock-on effect is we're getting work out sooner, and some of those jobs that were pushed out earlier are now coming back in, which is all well and good, and if I'm happy with that I can say save and I've got a new schedule. However, if the cost of working that additional overtime is too much, or the consequence of having these jobs go late because I'll move that one job in is unacceptable, then I can just hit cancel and read, and everything will go back to where it was before I started moving everything around manually and overriding the real scheduling system. So again, this what if capability is a kind of powerful tool that a lot of our customers make use of on the Monday morning production meetings. They're looking at real delivery dates in real time, and if they want to manipulate anything, they can see the effect on all the other jobs that are on the shop floor. So I'm going to leave the scheduler at the moment and go over to the work order planning side of things. So this is where we plan our work and where we read the information in from ERP systems. There's a couple of items here that are useful to kind of demonstrate. If I look at this sample job that we've got for this demonstration, it's the Webinar 999 job. It's a simple job with 5 operations. We show our operations with these colored folders. If the folders are red, it means that nothing has happened and the operation hasn't started. So if I show a similar job, it has started, there is some significance now in the color. These operations that you see here where my mouse is that are green have been completed. When the operation is blue, it's in progress right now on that machine, and as I mentioned earlier, when it's red, it hasn't started. So if I click on this last operation and you follow my mouse across to the right, you can see this operation is scheduled to finish on June the 6th. So without going and interrupting the supervisors or walking around the shop floor to find out where a job is, simply by looking at this screen I can see the first 3 operations are completed, the job is now down on this machine right now, and the last operation will be completed on June the 6th. So it's pretty easy to get a status of where the job is and what's taken place so far. The other thing that's nice about this screen, if I click on any of these operations that have been complete, again if you look over to where my mouse is, you can see that we planned to do 6, we really did do 6. Our estimated time was 1,320 hours, and the operator actually did it in 875 minutes. So we're able to capture the time for each operation as the job moves around the shop floor. And if I click on the second operation, you can see the same thing again. The estimated time was 2,200 minutes. The operator did it in 993. And if I click on the third operation, it's now gone red because we'd estimated this operation to take 840 minutes and the operator took 878. So we're capturing the data as the job moves around the shop floor. 2 big advantages for us there is that first of all we can provide a real-time status of any of the jobs on the shop floor, where they are, how long they've taken and who's working on them. And secondly, because we're collecting this information in real time, it's keeping the scheduler in sync all the time. So whenever you look at the scheduler, you're looking at really what is happening now and how long it's taken. So that being said, I'd like to just explain now how we do collect this data and this information. And to do that, I'm going to show 2 screens. So I'm going to go back just for a second to the planning board. And I'm just going to indicate where our particular test job for this demonstration is located. So it's work order 1200, it's the webinar test job, and you can see it here, it's in white. So it's the second job that's going to be on this machine. So this machine right now she'll be working on this job, and then it's going to do our job, which is work order 1200. If I show what our shop floor interface looks like, this is what the people on the shop floor utilize, and this has a 2-way street really. First of all, this provides the operator out on the shop floor with a list of work that he's supposed to do, and secondly it feeds back to the scheduler in real time. So if I click on this and I select the Mazak machine, you'll see that our job, work order 1200, part number webinar 999, is the second job for this operator to do. So he can see a real dispatch list live of all the work that he's supposed to do, and our test job is the second one on. So what I'm going to do is to just expedite that job, and I'm going to make sure it's the next job on. So if I'm the planning engineer, I could have expedited that job, or if we increase or improve the delivery date, this job pack system would have moved it straight to the front. And as soon as I do that, down on the shop floor, that's updated, and now you can see that the shop floor operator gets an update in real time. So this active work list is what we use. We've also got a traveler that we can use with barcodes, but we stopped using barcodes around about 2 years ago. Found that first of all it's not an active work list, and if you change a machine you have to reprint the router or the traveler. So these active work lists are a much more efficient way to get information down to the operator. So just bearing that in mind, what that looks like, to show how we can collect this information and you can see that it's in real time, if I go to the work order side, one of the things that we can provide for supervisors and for management is the real-time status. So what you're looking at now is the layout of a machine shop, and this comes in 2 flavors. What you're looking at right now is the supervisor's view, which shows each of the pieces of equipment. So you can see the Mazak number 2 is the name of the machine. It's working on part number M1700, work order 1880, and Bill Croker is working on it. So it looks like this for the supervisor. Alternatively, we can put this on a large display out on the shop floor, and I'll just show you a photograph of what that looks like. This is one of our larger customers where they've got their machinery broken down into cells. You can see these large LCDs out on the shop floor. If the rectangle you're looking at is green, then the job is running. If it's gone over time, it's red. So from anywhere on the shop floor, all of the supervisors and all of management can see all of the equipment, what job it's working on, and if it's within its time. So if I go back to the supervisor view, what this is showing me is, for example, on the Mazak number 3, that John Selly is working on this job, and it's just a plain yellow, which means he's doing this job within the time that was allocated. The jobs that you see flashing red, this is telling me that these operators are working on these jobs on these machines, and they're now taking longer than was estimated for the job. So as soon as a job takes longer than the customer has estimated, we put out a notification. And these machines that you see that are just blank, they're not doing anything. So I set up a simple manufacturing cell to demonstrate this part of the system, and it's got 4 machines in it. One of the machines is working okay and they're within time. 2 of the machines are working and they've gone over the estimated time. And I'm going to draw your attention to the Mazak number 1. So that isn't doing anything at the moment. So if we assume that Dave Welsh, me, as the operator, if I go to the shop floor interface again, all I've got to do to clock onto a job is to select the machine I'm responsible for, and I can see the active work list. I can simply put in my employee number, so that's me, and I can simply click on the start icon, and now this job is running on that machine. It's immediately picked up by the system, so you can see Mazak number 1 is working on webinar 999, work order 1200, and Dave Welsh is on it, and we're collecting time on the operation, the work order, and the person. And of course we're updating the scheduler in real time. The nice thing as well about our interface with the active work list is that a lot of people use it on shop floor PCs, so the operator simply walks to a PC, can see the active work list and gets his job. But it's available as a mobile or on a mobile tablet, so the supervisors can clock operators on and off. And now I would say that most of our customers are going to this kind of a regime, which is we call bring your own device. So that shop floor interface that you saw here is available as a web page, and we can display that on the employee's iPhone. And most employees these days, in fact I think everyone on the planet has got some kind of smartphone, whether it's an Android or an iPhone, but they can see the active work list and they can start and stop the job without moving from their equipment, and we can register whether the job stopped, and we can update the scheduler in real time. So having said that, the only other thing I'll do to kind of conclude this demonstration is if I go back to the planning board, and I'm just going to leave here for a second, you'll see one thing has changed on the planning board now. So if I go back here, and I again select your particular job that we use for this demonstration, which is our part number webinar 999, you'll notice now that your job, or this job, this test job for this webinar, is here on this machine, and you'll see that the cursor has changed. It looks like a no entry sign, and that's the system not allowing me to move this job or drag and drop it. I can drag and drop the job behind it and any of the other jobs, but this job is now on this particular machine. There's an operator clocked into it, and because I'm clocked into it and it's on this machine, the system stops me from moving it. The other thing that's going to happen here, as you can see now, we've moved on in time. I started talking at 12 o'clock Central Time, and you can see time has now moved up, and we're about 12:30. This block of time will now be consumed as time goes on. So this will finish off today, and and tomorrow morning when the operator comes back in, this time will be consumed right up to the point where the actual time overtakes the estimated time. And then this will then start pushing all these jobs back, which will push this job back, which will push this job back. And so everything is going to be moving in real time as an operator is clocked on and clocked off the job. And subsequently, all these delivery dates are accurate in real time whenever you want to look at them. So I hope that gave you a good overview of the job pack scheduler, and I hope that you can see how we can operate and provide finite scheduling capabilities for the ERP systems that are out there, and in particular the mass 100s, 200s, 500s, and of course what you now call the Sage products 1, 3, 5 and E3. So that's me pretty much wrapped up, Adrienne. What I'd like to do is hand this back to you if I may, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Dave. That was a very great presentation. I know that there's a lot of demand for this type of solution in the Sage 100 market. We do have some questions, and I do have some polls. So I'm going to launch our polls while I'm announcing our questions. So I have the first poll up here. Are you interested in learning more? If you could just take a few moments to answer that question, and I'm going to announce these first couple questions. Is this recording going to be made available? I have people here that really need to see this. Thank you, Charles. I appreciate your question. And yes, we did record this. And we actually have all our recordings available on our YouTube channel, and that's youtube.com/ERP bar. All of our webinars are available there. But we will certainly send a follow-up email with the recording and the contact information for Dave and his team over at JobPack. And Mary, thank you so much for your question. Can you sort those columns individually, David?
Yeah, sure. We can sort the columns pretty much however you want to do it. So yeah, no problem there.
Perfect. And just to remind the audience, there's a couple buttons next to your name on the webinar pane. There is a question mark, and there's a raise your hand. If you feel comfortable, please raise your hand. We will unmute your line, and we will speak live so that the whole audience can hear your question and kind of have that live interaction. But if you're more comfortable, please do indicate your question in the text field by clicking on the question mark button and just texting your question to us, and we'll read it loud. Okay, so I do have a couple more here. Thank you, Paul, for your question. How involved is it to connect Sage 100 ERP? Would anything within Sage 100 look different, or does the JobPack software live outside of Sage 100?
Okay, that's a great question. And if you wouldn't mind, Adrienne, just for 30 seconds, could you put the screen back to me, and
Sure.
I'll show what our integration tool looks like?
There you go.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, JobPack lives outside of the ERP system, irrespective of whose it is. It lives outside, so it provides that kind of finite, real-time scheduling capability without any interruption to the ERP system. And the way that we operate with that, if you're looking at my screen at the moment, we have a module which is called the Enterprise Application Interface. And this is what allows us to plug into just about anyone's system. Our database is completely open and documented. We provide the data dictionary for the customer. But this particular module contains two items or two elements. There's a configuration side, and this really allows us to map the appropriate fields and tables in the ERP system with the corresponding fields in the JobPack system. And this can be as simple as the work order number, the quantity, and the delivery date, and the part number, and we can extract that, put it into JobPack, and then we can append the routings and the processes and schedule everything from there. Or it can be as comprehensive as the whole work order with the bill of material with all the materials and the processes, and we can read that into JobPack. So this takes us normally about 2 or 3 days to set up. We've got pretty much a template for most of the ERP systems, and in particular the mass set of products and mass 90, 200 and 500 are pretty much plug and play now. So we connect directly to the mass database, extract the information that we want, we pull it out on a time basis. You can see where my mouse is now that we're going to pull information out, and the way that this is configured at 5:30 in the morning. Alternatively, we can do that extraction every 30 minutes, every 15 minutes, however you want. So once we've done that and we've set this up, then this just sits out on the server as a service, and it'll just pull the information in, pump it into JobPack, and then we're ready to schedule. But nothing is changed inside of the ERP system, and whatever screens you're looking at and whatever you've done before or doing now inside of Mass or Sage is exactly the same. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think that answers the question. Paul, if you have further on that, let us know. We do have Mary. Thank you so much. It looks like you raised your hand, so I'm going to attempt to unmute your line, and hopefully we can hear you. And I did notice you had a question as well in the text field. So, Mary, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Hi, Mary. Thanks for your question.
Yeah, I have a client that doesn't use work order. They use job cost in the Sage 100. And then also the time. Do you have like where you take time out and import it into payroll? Have you done any of that?
Yeah, the time for each particular operation we can either put in through JobPack or we can extract. If the time for an operation is already within the ERP system, we can import that. But once the job's been around the shop floor and past all the operations, we've got all of the time for the operators and for the job, so we can provide pretty much an actual versus an estimate, sorry, the estimate versus the actual for each operation, so you can see how long you really took as opposed to how long you should have taken. We've got stored in our database the operator's name, when they clocked in, when they clocked out, the quantity that they've done. And as I mentioned, our database is completely open, so we can extract any of that data in any period of time, and we can pass that to wherever you want. So we don't have a payroll system at all, but if you want us to send over a complete list of employees with their times for any given day or any given week or a month, then we can do that on a timed basis.
Based on the job, based on a week or 2 week time?
On
okay.
Any criteria that you can define, as long as we've got the information in our database, then we can pick that up and we can pass that over to you.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, I'm going to launch one more poll here. This is our last poll, and we do have a few more questions. So if you can take a moment to answer this poll. Do you currently have manufacturing clients who may benefit from this solution? And then I'll finish reading off the questions. We have a question from Victor. Victor, thank you so much. Is there an alert system regarding job changes, delays that can be sent to managers or supervisors?
Absolutely. We have notification services, and you may have seen in that demonstration that when a job goes late, there is a visual cue. It starts to flash red, which shows that the job is now taking longer than it should. And if that length of time exceeds the delivery date or goes over the date when that particular operation should be completed, notification services will send a text message or an email to a group of managers or whoever you want, which will say that this work order number, ABC, part number 123, is now running behind schedule, and you can do something about it.
And then another question, Charles, thank you. Does this integrate with Sage ERP X3?
I don't see any reason why it shouldn't. I don't know that we've got any customers right now that are using Sage X3, but if it's running on a standard database and we can tap into the table and pull the information, and as I said earlier, we just need the work order number, the part number, the quantity, and the delivery date. And if you've got the routing, so much the better. Then we can mirror that into our system, and we've provided then that finite real-time scheduling for an E3 system.
So perfect. It looks like we've wrapped up the questions for now. We will stick around for a minute or so. In case you think of any questions, go ahead and click on that question mark and indicate your question in the text field. Or you can always raise your hand and we'll unmute your line so we can have a live conversation. And thank you everybody so much for joining us today and learning about this solution. I think that there's a lot of Sage 100, 500, and possibly X3 clients that could benefit from something like this. And we really just appreciate your time. Dave, would you like to close it out with anything?
Well, just to echo your sentiments, Adrienne, to say thank you everyone for your time and for the questions. And if you need any other information, I'm particularly keen to talk to anyone that can see the benefits of this, and if this would offer additional benefits to your existing customers, then I'm very keen to talk to you and provide some kind of offering so that we can provide an overall integrated solution for manufacturers. So please don't hesitate to contact me with any questions.
And Dave, real quick, what is your phone number, the best way to contact you?
My cell phone number is 630-253-6310, and my email is davidw@jobpack.com.
And I will send your contact information to all the attendees and registrants. And thanks again, everybody, for joining us today. And look out for that follow-up email.
Thank you. And thank you again for your time and the questions.
And you take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.